Okay, today is a build video for the M27 Explorer and 3D printed M27 Explorer. We're going to start with certain parts because they have to glue and dry, kind of work our way through it, maybe in a non-logical order. Hopefully I won't forget things I wanted to mention. We'll see. Anyway, if you've already watched the demo video showing the thing completed, you'll recognize some of the parts as we go along. First, in order to illuminate the tail light part, there's this piece that you 3D print. In my case, I went in and put in all the LEDs, current limiting resistors, and bypass capacitors, because each one of these is a self-flashing LED, and didn't want the motor noise goofing up the flashing circuits in there. But I need to glue this onto this rear plate piece, and what I'm going to do is, you can see how thin this one is. It needed to really be about 1 millimeter or 2 deeper so that these parts would be lower. It'd be easier to glue the part on. I kind of packed everything as tight as I could, and they stick up a little bit. So I'm not so sure how easy gluing this thing is going to be on in a hurry, but we're going to try, and if it doesn't work, then I don't know what. We'll see. At any rate, I will make a change to that file to give that a little bit more room. So if any of you get ready to build this or feel like putting the LEDs in, you'll have an easier time of it. I'm going in with number 16. Let's get this on here, only because it would set up much quicker than if I used Goop or any of the others. And just going to try to center this. I mean, a person could use hot melt glue, or trying to get it turned so it kind of looks like it's going to illuminate the areas that I want illuminated. And I'm just pinching it here with the hopes that it'll at least glue in a couple of places, because I need that to stay in place before I put this red cap on. It's just a mount to hold the LEDs. Okay. Not 100% sure that it will in fact work. If it doesn't, then you won't see this video, and I'll start another video and probably have this piece already pre-glued on. Kind of lifting up a little bit. Can't really get glue down in there with this large tip on the weld on number 16. I'm going to try and get some in there with this little screwdriver. Let's just see if that'll work its way down in there or not. If not, I guess I could try super glue. Okay, I think maybe that will stay in place long enough for us to continue on here. And just to make sure that I haven't goofed anything up, let's go ahead and put some power to these LEDs. 3 volts is what this toy is going to be working on. Okay, it looks like they're all blinking and they're starting to randomize at this point, so that's good. we didn't ruin anything. What I'm going to put on next is going to be this cover on there, and you need to test fit this cover first, because you'll find that it really fits best in certain positions. It's because I designed it by eye and didn't really measure anything exact. But the cover itself, I'm going to go ahead and use the B7000 for a couple of reasons. One, because it's got the really small little metal needle tip, makes it easy to get the glue just where you want it. And two, this part doesn't need to dry really super quick. We know it's going to go on this inside part here, so I just kind of need to just hit a few places where I know it's going to be, and then I won't have to worry about it coming off. But also, now that this other piece is in place, I can add some of this around the LEDs, so I don't have to worry about them breaking loose and moving later. Like so. And let's test fit this again. There we go. Should kind of pop in place and stay there. And we should be able to check our LED functions again at this point. And you can see it's starting to randomize and look pretty good. Okay. So we're going to let that part kind of sit and dry for a moment, and we'll catch up to the build on this part. This is basically the same simple, this is the easy build number 2, and on it I'd used just the single shaft TT motor, 1 by 90 RPM. In this case I've replaced it with the dual shaft because I want a shaft coming up so that in the end I can have an antenna on the top spinning around as well. So only difference between the build video for just this simple 4-legged walking mechanism is I've gone from a single shaft to a dual shaft, and on the feet I've added top cover pieces. We had these bottom parts before, but added a top part to give it some more dimensionality so it looks a little bit better. And that's really the only differences there. Pre-prepped the switch with some wires coming out, pre-prepped the motor with some wires coming out. By the way, when you're building this, when you look at it from the bottom, this motor should be turning clockwise. So not then adjust your wires accordingly. Now there's going to be a front part on there too. The front part I've already assembled. Basically just has this base piece. Then I have the little guy who's printed in a different color, a little robot guy put in there in the cockpit, and then of course printed in translucent red and green parts, and then put the flashing LEDs on the back side, the current limiting resistor and the bypass capacitor to keep all of that stable when the motor is running, because the motor throws hash on the line and it tends to goof up these LEDs that have the flashing circuits built in. Let's see if we can power this up. There we go. Can you see that? So that's going to be on the front of this whole contraption. I guess I should put the dome on the rear, because it's going to have some drying time too. So let's put a little bit of the old B7000 in this groove here. Just putting little dots of it here and there in case I have to pry everything apart. The clear dome, they're sold as clear plastic ornaments, and you can get them at craft stores, you can get them online, Amazon, you can get them eBay, just about anywhere. Do I have a preference on what's top and bottom? Not really. So we'll just snap that in there, maybe turn it a little bit so we know the glue is getting worked around. So again, we'll let that sit and dry. There isn't a whole lot left to do, so I don't know how much sitting and drying we're going to be doing. So the body part, let's take the hatch off. When you print it, I print it vertically like this, and the only place I put supports is this upper part up in here. put supports all through all that. So when you're done printing, then you can yank all those supports out and clean out the notch where the battery door is going to fit there, and clean out the notch where the slide on the battery door is going to slide to hold it shut. Put in your double AA battery holder. I put some glue on it and popped it down in there. Made sure the wires came out like that. You'll notice the holes that we've got here. This is the rear, so this is where the motor wire was going to come up. This hole in the center is for the extra drive shaft on the TT motor for spinning the antenna. This hole is for the wires from the on-off switch to poke through, and this hole right here is for the screw, you know, that the walking legs has poking through there. So that's where all of that stuff's going to go. And I guess I should just go ahead and put all of this in there. Because in reality that's going to get glued, although I don't glue them heavily because, again, I may have to tear this thing apart. I don't know. So I think I'll just put some dabs back here just to hit this back side of that. And just some little hints of glue in places where the edge hopefully will make contact. I mean, if it comes loose, you can always glue it again later, right? Easier to do that than having it glued so permanently you can't get in there to undo anything that might need undoing. There we go. Slide that in, and it's down. Now this particular glue is the one that's going to take longer to set up, so we'll be kind of fighting that the whole time here, just making sure that we don't goof it up too much. But working from the back to the front, I really need to put that back piece on next. And I think typically I would go ahead and put it on with the B7000 or the Goop or the E6000. It's sold on different names. But in this case I want this to set up quickly, so I think I'm going to go ahead and use the weld-on number 16. And what the heck, let's put it on here. Let's just put some dots of it on here in places, because this stuff sets up so much quicker. There'll be less things I'll be trying to hold together. Run the wires in and see how if the dome looks. If it has a place that looks worse, we'll make it bottom. Doesn't appear to. I have to decide how I'd like my display to look. Of course, holding it in this position, this bottom piece wanted to slide out, already has. We knew we were going to be fighting all of this stuff. Hopefully this will set up rather quickly. You'll also notice the on the designs that I put on to break up the monotony of it all, I put in portholes and grabbed some pictures of some robots as the passengers in there, and just cut them in a circle and just simply glued them into the portholes on both sides. And I was too lazy to go out to the Robothut with my camera and a white background and take pictures of toys I had, so I just went online. I typed in on the search profile vintage toy robots. And when I found a couple, you know, the Rock'em Sock'ems and a couple of the other inexpensive China repro type things, I went, eh, those will work okay. We'll just put those in there. Okay. So hopefully that one will stay in place. Let's see if all of the wires made it to the front. You end up with a slew of wires, but it shouldn't be too hard to figure out what's what. So let's take all of the grounds of everything. So everything that's black, let's just connect all of our grounds together. Got 2 of them. Got 3 of them. See, rear light, motor, battery. So far that would be all of the blacks, but this front has one more to it, so we got to take this front one and let's connect it there too. And what I should be doing is heating up the soldering gun. Got it right here. Let's kick it on up. I had it on standby, so it shouldn't take. It's just about there. I was going to say it shouldn't take too long to get up to temperature. Okay. Let's kick that back to mid-temp. Once I get that covered, then I'll put some batteries in there. We can kind of test some things as we go along. I think to cover the wires, we probably should be using some heat shrink tubing. And maybe this side, since there's so many black wires there all together. Looking for my snips. Hit that again later once the other wires are kind of bundled up. So now we don't really have a chance of too much shorting out, but what I need to do is find the one from the battery. Okay, I've got the battery wire here, and I'm going to take one of the white ones because I know that goes from the switch, and I want to run my battery through the switch. So I'm just going to connect the battery B plus to the white wire and solder that and put some heat shrink on that. It's just 2 wires, so I'll get some smaller heat shrink here. And let's trim that back. Like so. There we go. And let's shrink that up. Alright, so that means the other white wire from the switch is now going to be the B plus to everything. So that means all of the remaining red wires need to go to that. If I can get my fingers in there. Some of these wires I should have made longer. I mean, there's plenty of room in there for piling stuff up. Trying to get them around in a more logical order here. Okay. We've got the motor. Got the rear light. Got the front light. And last but not least, B+ from the switch. And let's solder that. And let's trim that. And that's a bunch of wires, so we're going to get the slightly larger stuff, heat shrink tubing. Alright. Alright, if I haven't made any mistakes, that should be wired right. I'm just going to grab a couple of batteries. I have no idea whether the switch is on or not. I guess not, or hopefully not. Let's put the battery door on. By the way, you know the battery door is going to print like that. You have to put some supports there. The gray, you can see I did in a different color so you could see the sliding piece and the knob print separately, and of course you just glue the knob on. And that just fits in like so. Let's move this soldering gun out of the way before I accidentally melt something. Get the solder out of the way. Okay. Now, where's the switch? If I can get to that without disturbing the drying process of the glue. Okay. Is it going to walk? Yes. So everything is hooked up right. We have lights. Can we fish this down through all those wires and still make a connection with the motor? Let's try that. Alright. Yes. So what we need to do now is to glue this front on. I still have to be careful how I pick it up because the whole walking leg part that I used that slower drying glue with, obviously, you know, it hasn't set up yet. So I don't want all that dropping out. But let's get this part on where it looks like it's lined up right. I think that would be right. So if we can get that just to set up long enough, we can actually see the thing in action, and it should look just like the demo. Okay, I think it's starting to set up. So let's there it is from the front, and there it is from the back. Your M27 Explorer. It's actually a super simple build because you don't have to do any of the LED stuff that I did. You know, the simple locking mechanism has so few parts. You've got a body, a front and rear end cap, so few parts. You don't have to do the rotating antenna if you only have the single shaft motor. It only gets complicated for some of you if you start adding the flashing lights and stuff to the whole thing. But a very simple project if you choose to make it simple.